Hey guys, my name is Mysca and welcome to Overwatch Central. Today we're actually taking a look at some hero pick rates and stats again, because we haven't had any for a pretty long time now. I think it's over 3 weeks total, and that's because during the role queue beta, Blizzard were gathering stats in a different way and they weren't sharing those stats in the normal way. So sites like Overbuff, which is the website that has gathered all of these stats, couldn't display those for us during that time because they simply weren't getting them. Now we have some stuff though, and I'm taking a look at the average from about August 12th, so we had a pretty good average then of a bunch of different skill tiers and a lot of data, to today basically, the September 5th stats, which I believe are technically the full 24 hours of September 4th in the US. But either way, these are recent stats and are fairly accurate. Now before I show you the numbers, I do want to let you know that take some of these with a grain of salt, because they just seem kind of extreme at times. And I also want to let you know, because role queue has happened, there's generally less DPS pick rate across the board here. There's a lower pick rate for almost all characters because fewer people are playing DPS because, yeah, a lot of people were playing DPS before. Let's just leave it at that. A lot of solo supports, and that's not a thing anymore. And additionally, Sigma's been added and there's been a huge meta shakeup due to balance patches. So let's get into the meat of it, beginning with the supports. As you can see, a lot of them have actually not changed too much in terms of how they compare to each other before, but the big anomaly here is Moira, and that's why I wanted to do my disclaimer earlier. Moira's shot up from 6.38% here all the way up to 18.25. Now, that could very well be a little bit inaccurate. The trend, however, should not be inaccurate. I reached out to Overbuff when I saw this. I was a little bit surprised and a little bit confused. And they told me that still doing a quick skim of supports is showing that Moira has the most people who have played more than 10 games with her. That's out of the supports there. You have Moira at first place with 214 people, Mercy with 132, and then Ana at 85. So the overall idea of the trend still works out there, but not necessarily comparing it to the Mercy stat just straight up. Maybe this number for Moira's pick rate is closer to 14 or 13%, but it's still definitely higher than most other characters. Just wanted to make that really clear. Other than that, there's no real surprises here. Obviously, Baptiste has gained quite a bit. He's been doing well, and I think that's been recognized with role queue quite a few times before, so nothing new there. Ana's pick rate has gone down as Moira's has gone up, really. It could also be partially due to the heavy shield usage right now, where of course Moira's ultimate can go through shields, and that's pretty useful. Additionally, Brig and Sen are still not doing too well, and that's also kind of to be expected. Either way, like I said here, mostly look at the trends and kind of how the heroes compare to each other rather than the exact numbers here. Okay, moving on, we're gonna have a look at damage because that's gonna take a while. I have two pictures here because there's quite a few DPS characters in the game. Beginning here with Doomfist, I want to take a look at because he hasn't actually changed that much in terms of numbers here, but this is yet another thing that I want to highlight for when you check these stats. Doomfist not changing here is actually kind of good, or whatever you want to call it. He's actually in a pretty damn good spot, because with the role queue implementation, fewer people are playing DPS because you don't have the solo support situation and you don't have a sort of 6 DPS in some games here and there type of situation. All in all, that should shift how you look at these stats too, and Doomfist maintaining that position is definitely good, so I think he's actually in a pretty good spot there. No change is not really that representative. Genji on the other side has gone down a whole lot according to this, and I think this is yet another one of those things where this might not actually be 100% accurate. I don't think Genji's lost this much in pick rate, but again, who knows, maybe there were just loads of people playing Genji before on DPS that really were just angry, tilted tank and support players that were wanting to play Genji for a game or two. Either way, I put a question mark next to that just so you can keep an eye on that thing too. Other than that, there's not really loads of other interesting things on this slide, but I would say that the overall decrease here is due to role queue and something that you'll see in this next slide, which is of course the ridiculous Symmetra gain. Look at that, 0.92 to 4.14, and that's with the odd role queue number changes too. She's being used so much right now, and I don't think anyone really saw this coming, like a few months back at least, that Symmetra would be part of the meta, because she definitely is right now. Other than that, of course, you have Reaper, who's actually gone up a little bit here as well, and again, I would say that that's actually a pretty good sign. So I kind of put a mix of trend symbols on his. You can see a decrease in characters that might struggle a little bit against shields. And obviously Symmetra's eaten up some of that pick rate too. Again, look at the trends mostly here, but all in all for DPS, all the downwards trends doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad character now or anything like that. But like I said, I wanted to go through these stats regardless. I do feel like Widowmaker going down a bit in Pickrate is actually fairly accurate, just due to how Sigma and Orisa can really shut some angles down there. It can just be kind of annoying to play Widow into that. But yeah, I know I repeated it so many times, take these stats with a grain of salt. We're gonna move on to the final one now, and it's a pretty interesting one. Again, one character's been added here, so the tank section is gonna look a little bit different, but Sigma is in a fairly interesting spot here, at least according to these stats. As you can see, he's doing pretty well, and I'm not surprised. It's a new character in role queue. I know I'm saying new when he's been out like 3 weeks, but it's still fairly new, and this just tends to be a thing when a character is added that's a new character and they're also doing fairly well. Their numbers tend to blow up a bit, and honestly I can believe this 10.71% right here, even though it's pretty high compared to all other tanks. It might just be a little bit lower, say someone like Orisa being played less overall. I wouldn't say it's really a negative impact either. Sigma taking away some of that playtime, but the main thing here I want to talk about is actually this Zarya trend, and I think this again is actually fairly accurate. I do think this accurately represents the surge, if you want to call it, of Zarya players that have kind of emerged from being able to play the character with Sigma and just being a pretty decent character to play in the overall meta right now. I wouldn't really say it's a super meta character, but at least the trend here of Zarya being played quite a bit more, I do think is representative. I put Wrecking Ball as not much has changed there for now. That might not line up with the other pick rates that you've seen in this video overall, but it was kind of right on the edge of being a significant enough change to call it less or more in pick rate. I think again this is mostly due to Sigma being added that Wrecking Ball stats has been affected a little bit. And also rip Winston, come on, I just want to play Winston, it's like my favorite character and he's just really not meta right now and not doing very well at all. But oh well, I hope what happens to the support role especially before role queue was in such an amazing spot, and I hope that Blizzard can look at that with tanks and just work some things out there and do a little bit better. Anyway, that's everything for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed all the stats. Check out overbuff.com, of course, if you want to see them yourself. And do keep an eye on that over the next few days, because we're going to get more and more data to work with as days go by here in Season 18. And excuse me if some of these stats are not 100% accurate, but they should still give you an idea of what's going on. Like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more Overwatch content. You guys know the drill, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.